Orthorexia. That is what we are talking about today, and I know what it sounds like when you hear that exia in there. But no, it is not anorexia, it's not bulimia. While it can lead to that, that is not how it starts. What orthorexia is the going overboard with, quote unquote, clean eating. And let me preface this, I am not dragging gluten-free eaters, vegans, vegetarians, pescatarians, whatever. I'm not saying this is them. I am not. But one thing in my profession and through the years of just being around people who are always manipulating their diets is that, you get on this diet, whatever it may be. Let's use veganism as an example. And some people just take it so far. I'm sure everybody has one friend like that who through one, maybe it lasts a week or a month or a year or what have you, and they just go completely insane with it. And what I mean by that is that it becomes all-encompassing. They start obsessing over the food, thinking about each meal, maybe even talking down on people that don't eat like they do, feel guilty anytime they break their diet. And those are just a few things, but all of that coming together, and that's what we call orthorexia. And I know it sounds kind of lame to say, someone's eating too clean, therefore there's something wrong with them. And that's not what I'm saying at all, because the eating part is not the issue. The clean eating is fine. The orthorexia, like the other eating disorders, aren't necessarily, calorie-based in their thinking of it. It's a wanting to be healthier, but in turn it develops into this psychological disorder. Because anorexia and bulimia, they center around food, but for the most part, at least in my non-PhD having opinion, it's a mental disorder. It is anxiety, it's obsession, and it can hit you without even knowing it. Especially, there's two types of people, right? You have your older people who are not as active just because as adults we're not. We're not playing sports all the time. We're not as young as we used to be. We don't have a high metabolism. We're not as active because we have jobs and families, kids, whatever. And we're always looking for an edge. So for adults, it's more of someone looking for an edge and they go over the top in just their strictness of their diet, and it becomes their lifestyle. You see that with, once again, not picking on paleo people, but sometimes they get obsessed with it. Now, that's a little different because I don't think they're starving themselves of any other nutrients. So not every diet causes orthorexia, in my opinion. But like I said, when someone switches entire lifestyle, such as like going vegan, like very restricted diets, and I know there's millions of types of plants or however many, but you know what I mean. There's a handful of fruits and vegetables you get from the grocery store. I know there's hundreds and thousands, but you get the main 10 to 12 every time you go. Most people do. Maybe some people venture out, and those people aren't suffering from orthorexia, I'm willing to bet. But, when you're just eating raw peppers every day at 10 o'clock and then worrying about your 1 o'clock meal for your carrots, you start getting into that territory if you do it long enough. You start obsessing and thinking about your next meal, and you start feeling like crap anytime you eat something that's not in line. And I'm not saying you punish yourself, but mentally you generate this anxiety and a sense of failure and all these emotions that go with not living up to either what you think about yourself or what someone else may think about you. And that's why I say it's all psychological, because clearly no matter what, if you just cheat one time, you're still probably way under your ideal calorie count, right? Your calorie deficit's being achieved. So as I'm saying, orthorexia is not necessarily like a calorie deficit disease. You're not trying to have 0 calories all the time or something like that. Now, the other one that comes in, it's not as common, but it's another way to think about it, is young athletes. Now, young athletes are very impressionable from the sense of they just haven't been on this planet long enough. So they look up to people like coaches or other role models and trust what they say, and sometimes take it as law, sometimes take it as more than that. They take it as gospel, right? So if you have a guy, a football player, for instance, and he just has to get down to 250. We'll use that number. And he starts eating, let's say he's reading articles and he says keto. Ask his trainer about it or someone, and the trainer's like, yeah, I'm on keto. Yeah, it works great. So he starts doing keto, the ketogenic diet, and he loses some weight. Said, oh man, this is great. I mean, and more is better, right? Like, man, I bet I can get it down to 230, be even faster. Whatever. I'm not saying what position this guy plays. I'm just giving you a hypothetical. Well, now all of a sudden, he's venturing into territory where he's extremely focused because he wants to be the best at whatever sport he's playing or she's playing, whatever. And the more is better mentality comes in. Then in order to feel good about his diet, they start judging how other people are eating. Same thing as adults, start getting anxiety when they mess up a meal. They feel like they let themselves down, they let their team down, all that kind of stuff. And that is when, I could say when the mental stress of a diet kicks in and it becomes consuming in your mind, that is what they are calling orthorexia. Now, it's not I don't know if it's recognized by doctors. like anorexia or bulimia, which can, orthorexia can be the precursor for that. But essentially you deal with it the same way. I think a strength coach can get through to the young athletes. The older people that trying to stay in shape and stick to a very strict diet don't have as many resources available to them. And I'm not saying they need to go to a psychologist, but there could be something to that, right? Not just a nutritionist, but there may, if it's bad enough, right? Talking to a counselor about it. Now, if you're in a position where you know someone who goes through that, and truth is, it's probably annoying you, because if they truly have orthorexia, they're probably unbearable, posted on Facebook every meal they eat, and it's, red peppers and hummus, and it just looks so unsatisfying, but it's every day. It might be the exact same meal every single day for lunch, and it's just bird food, right? Talking with them about it. You don't want to be the food police, but, things you can do to help them out is, inviting him to more things, or, recommending a cheat meal. Go work out with them and get food after. So they have to go somewhere different. They can't just go to their pepper and hummus place. They have to go to, it doesn't have to be junk food, but maybe they have to venture out and get a heartier salad. And that could be something that allows them to continue on a path of not obsessing about certain things and creating this isolated diet that can lead to things like malnutrition on top of all the other psychological stuff I already brought up. So I just want to talk about that. Not a lot of people know about orthorexia. It's much more common in regular people. You won't always see it like someone who's anorexic. You can see people, and I'm not talking about just being a mean girl and be like, oh, she must be anorexic. But, because 20% of anorexia cases are in men also. But seeing someone, orthorexia is not as serious, but it's all because it can be nipped in the bud a lot quicker. The things I just brought up are very easy, right? You don't need to go to a doctor. You don't need to deep dive psychologically into what their issue is, like anorexia or bulimia. But, it's always something to watch out for. Anytime I train young athletes, I definitely look for it. If they're obsessing a little too much about food, like I said, they're impressionable. They're trying to do their best because competition's high, right? They haven't proved anything yet. They need to. They need to prove it to not only their coaches and teammates, but the next level's coaches and teammates. So if I ever do see it, it's pretty rare for me, but in the 10 to 12, college level athletes I've trained, one or two of them I've kind of seen go a little too far with the food. And while I wasn't thinking orthorexia right away, I was thinking, yeah, he's taking a little too far. He's taking everything I say a little too seriously, or some diet he read a little too seriously. And I'll explain to him, like, look, if you want to, and the best way I do it is like, look, if you want peak performance, following the diet that strictly is not what you need. You still need, like, if a guy wants to go keto, for instance. I had this one baseball player who wanted to go keto. I said, absolutely not. You're an athlete. Like, you need carbohydrates to perform. It's like, yeah, well, this guy's keto. I was like, I don't care about that guy. I don't know him, and he's proved nothing to me, but I'm looking at you. I've been around you enough. I know what you need, okay? You need to get X amount of calories at this time, or eat X amount of carbs. Don't just go all protein. You don't need that much protein if someone's trying to go super high protein. Like, look, back off. You're going to be fine. You're young and strong. You can build muscle with all kinds of stuff. So that's about it. Maybe this is something you weren't familiar with, orthorexia. It can be a precursor to much more serious things, but if you notice it, be a good citizen. Help someone out. Talk with them, because, eating disorders like that cause a ton of isolation, and isolation is not good for anything. It only exacerbates the psychological problem they already have, whether that's orthorexia, anorexia, bulimia. So what's that? Be a good neighbor. Guys, thanks for checking out Quick Sessions Podcast. Hope you learned something. If you don't follow us on Instagram, please subscribe, or follow, I should say, for the podcast. If you subscribe, rate, and review, helps the pod grow a ton. I appreciate it all. Catch you guys next time.